G'day, citizens. Welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algared. How you doing, buddy?
I'm pretty good.
So, with upcoming stuff this year, me and Algared wanted to have a look at modularity specifically and how it's going to affect not just the game, but also sales going forward. We do a lot of kind of financial speculation here with you guys, so we wanted to kind of have a look into that, and it is going to change the landscape a little bit, and we're just going to go through that with you guys because we want to kind of prepare you. I think that's kind of the main reason we're doing this, Algared, unless you can think of another reason.
Well, I think like one of the key things with modules, it's are going to change gameplay. Now, you just have to look at the Retaliator, which is we know the modules that are that because they've been sold.
Yeah.
We know that the Retaliator has gone through its rework, and once they solve the issue with the torpedoes, I imagine we'll get those modules.
Yeah.
The question is, will they resell the modules on the store?
Yeah.
And if they do, they're going to that will be like as call it accessories. It'll be like microtransactions.
Yeah, essentially. So that's kind of what we want to look at today, and we're going to look at it like at the two extremes of where it can kind of go, like the worst and the best, essentially, and kind of go, let's see the spectrum and kind of work out where it can go, because there's chances are it'll be somewhere in between. And that's what we're going to go through right now. So basically, from what Algared and I can ascertain, and we'll go into it in an example here. So let's switch over to the browser, Algared, and we'll go through this right now. So we've got this image of this is Algared's Idris K Aftermarket K Kit, or that's what they call it? Yeah, the K Kit. It says Idris P Aftermarket Kit. It's an Idris K Kit though.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's the Idris K Kit, but it's for the Idris P.
Yeah. So I don't own an Idris, so I can't just pull this up. So Algared was nice enough to take me an image of his excessive fleet. No, just kidding. And send this to me. But one of the reasons we picked this one specifically is it's a lot easier to look into, because a lot of them just say, like, say we looked at Endeavor modules, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. It just says biopod. It doesn't really kind of say what comes in it. But this specifically lists what you're getting. And as you can see, it's weapons and components, right? And again, some of these guns aren't in game yet, right? But if you look at like the most expensive gun at the moment, it's, let's just be generous and say it's around about 100,000 Alpha UEC, right? And this is the two parts of it, and it really comes down to show you the spectrum. Is just where they're going to, those final price of those weapons and components going to end up. Because right now, let's say, for example, if a size 6 gun is $100,000, it's roughly around that price, is the most expensive one. How it's guessing, right? It's speculating. How high can a size 10 go, Algared? That's kind of what we're talking here, isn't it?
Yep. And so, say 300, 400,000, maybe 500,000.
Yeah.
Would be the rough range that you'd push for that.
Yeah. And I think the other, why Algared's going so high there is we are expecting them to go up in price, much like we've talked to you guys before about, we all know how the ships are going to go up in price based on what Chris Roberts has said from an interview we did with me, but also he said in 10 for the Chairmans, he said the Aurora will roughly stay the same, the Constellation will be about 5 times the price, and the Idris will be about 10 times the price. Now, you've got to also add in the thing that John Cruz said is all the ships are priced off components. So if the prices of the ships are going up, therefore the components have to be going up. If this is full of components, that means this is going up in price too. But what we're trying to ascertain today is just how much they're going up, right? So right now, this might not look like it's worth it. But in the future, if this is going up by 10 times, all of a sudden it becomes quite worth it, because that makes that more like $2,750, right? And I know that's in Australian pricing, but you can still do the math, right?
Yeah.
We're playing the rough ballpark figure today, just for argument's sake. So,
that has the Australian tax on it, which is an extra $25.
But we can do the same thing with Endeavor pods. At the moment they're $150, but if they're 10 times the price and they become $1,500, that all of a sudden is like, whoa, what's going on there? And one of the reasons we wanted to bring this to your attention is one of our viewers was kind enough to bring this to our attention. He basically, and we went and looked at it, is the structural salvage patch. When they were testing that, when you're on the EPTU, the prices of all the ships were insanely high. And the example I saw was roughly something like the Reclaimer was, it went from like 15 million to over 40 million. So it was like 4
Mm.
times the price. So if that is a kind of a slight, like if they brought out a patch where they've started to scale the ship prices and they didn't have enough time to take it out, it might be a little bit of a tip of the hat of some of the thought process where they're leaning towards. So we're thinking it might be coming sooner rather than later. Algared?
Yeah. So if you look at that and you take the view that the prices are going to increase, say, fourfold, then I think when you're looking at your modules, times that price by 4.
Yeah.
And I think that will give you a gauge as to whether you should be looking, whether those modules are worth buying now,
Yeah.
or whether it be something that's still earning game.
Yeah.
90% of the modules you'll come across would still be stuff you could earn in game, because most of them are like $30. And my personal barrier from looking at whether I'd say it's an earning game or not is around $250.
I think a lot of it's got to
Of
do.
that, then it goes.
I think it's also got to do with the size of the ships to the size of the components. So if the components are small components, they're probably going to stay the same. If they're capital size components like this, they're going to multiply way more, so up to 10 times, like what Chris said. And again, if I look at something like this, the other example we could look at is the privateer kit for the Kraken. That's $350. So I think that's going to go up in value quite a bit. But if you look at, say, something like a module for the Endeavor, currently that's a $350 ship. I'd say that's in the medium large bracket.
Yeah.
But eventually that will probably become capital, so that will become more valuable as well. So I think you can scale it to where the ship is at personally.
Like I think with the Endeavor, you're looking. You've got you can get a rough idea of that pricing, because you can look at the Endeavor Hope and how much the Endeavor Hope costs versus the base Endeavor at $350.
Yeah.
So the base Endeavor doesn't have any components. Both of those are going to go up. I think as and I think the base Endeavor's price increase will not be, say, as much as an Endeavor Hope or a Discovery or that, because they've got both modules in. But it gives you an idea of how much those modules are going to increase in price as well.
Yeah. So this is speculation on our part, but it's based on, again, how me and Algared always talk about connecting dots. So we thought we'd put this out there just to get the conversation kind of started. I think the other part of this comes into the marketing, like how are they going to start to sell these Algared? So from my point of view, kind of like what they did with the 300 series, where you could buy the coffee maker and the paints and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start to move into an era where you say you buy a ship, and not only do they say, hey, do you want these skins? It's like, do you want these modules? Do you see that being a thing in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Like you look at that Idris example, the Idris aftermarket, the Idris P aftermarket kit. That's effectively the same thing as they did with the 300i. The difference is the Idris aftermarket kit is purchased on the store, and it's just there and will be applied later.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do the aftermarket purchases for the 300i, they're actually applied in game already, and so you end up with you go in and you can see your 300i with the paint skin or the interior that you did, with the bed linen that you chose, with the clock or the and so
I have a fear, though. I have a fear that you can buy components on the pledge store. I hope it never goes there, where you can kind of imagine if you could kind of like lay out your ship and put all the components in you want, and then pay a premium to have that kind of saved with your LTI, so to speak. I don't ever want to get to that point, because that literally is becoming pay to win. And I have a real fear that the marketing team may go there. And we've already got examples of the marketing team influencing the design of the game already. And you know the one I'm going to talk about. The Prowler versus the Hoplite as an example, right? In game, the Prowler was cheaper, but outside the game, it was more expensive than the Hoplite. And because people complained, they, instead of like fixing the prices, they swap them in game, and that literally means the marketing team is now affecting the design of the game, and I don't like that at all. And I went on a bit of a rant to Algared earlier.
He did.
And I got it out of my system. But it really, you see it in a lot of games these days where the quality of the game and the game comes out and it's an absolute buggy mess, and then but every patch that they drop, there's skins there ready to go because that's their priority. Their priority is money, and I will be really disappointed if that's where it goes. Now I know money in this game are very different because money has to fund the project, right? That's a part of it, right? We you have to weigh it up, but at the end of the day, I just don't want that. I don't want to ever look at this game and go, I feel like I've been cheated, right? At this point, Algared, I think you would have kind of agree with me. The length and breadth of this game and where it's going, like even since CitizenCon last year with where Squadron 42 trailer dropped and stuff like that, I feel I've got my money's worth. You know what I mean? Like they're building a game of everyone's type of dreams type thing, and that's, as long as I keep seeing that, I'm happy. And is it the same for you, or is it you worried that they might go into this financial money pit?
There's always a problem with where the money coming from. I personally don't have an issue with the aftermarket purchases like you could do with the 300i. I'd like to see that available throughout for all ships, to be able to choose the interior or choose the components or choose the layout. Now, we also know that 90% of those component adds that they had with the 300i weren't worth it. You could actually buy those components in game and apply them to the ship. The things you couldn't apply were the interior, the decor of a ship, the look. And so that look was enabling you to personalize your ship.
And,
yes, you components.
That's my fear, because like let's talk about the coffee maker, an example. It was $5 for a coffee maker, but that thing was like nothing in game. Now, if they increase that in game and it is worth $5 of your time, like it has to be worth what you're paying, right? And that's what that kind of scares me. And at the moment, some of the things we pay for in this game, they seem like a bargain, while other things just seem like a blind ripoff. And I'm hoping this year we see a move towards some of that stuff, like especially if what we saw in that patch was a bit of a preview where the prices of ships are starting to going up. But I think everyone goes, oh, everything's going to go up, right? We've heard that for ages, right? But I think that's not the clearest way to put it. It's clearly, if you put everything up, then everything just goes up, so it's pointless. So it's got to be a scale of some description, and I think that scale that Chris talked about is the bigger a ship is essentially the more it's going to multiply, essentially. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see where that lands, because that's also a very clear sign that we're moving away from this, essentially what we've had for the last 10 years of this light fighter meta. There's going to be this huge disruption. The time to kill is going to completely change. Like even just looking at two basic ships like a Gladius and a Hornet, you'd expect the Hornet to just be so much more beefier. I'm not saying double, but you get where I'm coming from, right? What I'm trying to talk about.
It should take the Gladius significantly longer to take out a Hornet.
Yeah. Across the board, the fight should be prolonged, because
Yeah, and part of that reason is just because the Hornet is a heavy fight, or a medium fighter versus a light fighter. But on the reverse, the light fighter should be more nimble and harder for the Hornet to kind of get the hit. But when the Hornet hits it, because it's a light fighter, you should theoretically fight it. Damage.
It's like everyone's been getting really scared of this engineering gameplay coming, but it's always been there, and that time to kill was always going to go up. And actually, you can clearly see having a bigger ship is going to have massive benefits, because you can have someone that can repair your ship. When you're in a single seat fighter, it's just you can't really repair anything. So there is already instantly an advantage there.
Yeah, like the components are going to be an issue, and if you're in a fighter, your components are damaged, you're going to need to go somewhere where you can get out of your ship and then do a repair. If you're in a multi-crew ship, having those components damaged, your engineer can go and then either replace a component, repair a component, do whatever. So there's going to be different gameplay loops. the modularity of ships is going to be huge because that's going to increase the gameplay options. So people with a retaliator are going to have that option to do the cargo transport. They're going to have the option to do not just do bounty hunter missions with the torpedoes. They're going to have the option to do dropship with the dropship components. They're going to have able to mix and match. So it's going to change the gameplay. The beauty of it is,
I was just going to say. So I was going to do a summary, but if you want to wrap up what you're doing, and then I'll do a summary.
Yeah. The beauty of those modules for the Retaliator is the fact that you're going to be able to swap them out. Now, are those modules going to be available in game? I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anything that's available on the store not be available in game.
Yeah.
I want there to be that choice. So my problem at the moment with the 300i aftermarket kit is the fact that you can't update your 300i in game and do that same time.
That's kind of a good example of our fear.
And that's the problem. The second you can't get anything from the store in game, then it becomes that pay to win issue.
And some games do it where there's a timed exclusive thing. Like it looks like we're moving towards like a 6 months credence and I think that may be a thing in the future. They bring out a new ship after the game's released. They'll bring out a new ship and you get 6 months exclusive access, but then eventually someone can buy it in game for credits. And I think that's kind of where we're moving to. But like in summary, components and weapons, if they fall under a module, they should scale with their ship size. So again, it's one of those reasons we always say, buy big and earn down, because those big ships are going to multiply in such value. And I think eventually, like from what we're seeing, I think you're about to see what we've been talking about for years. We've been fought on this tooth and nail by some people across the community. But again, if this happens the way we've been told it's going to happen, that looks like what's going to happen. So yeah, in summary, the bigger, so the only ones you really want to look at right now would be the Privateer kit and the Idris K, but also ships that are kind of potentially going to grow, you'd say, Algared. So possibly some of the modules for the Endeavor, but wait for that to grow first. But again, feel free to have them in buyback if you want. And again, for me though, for the Endeavor, there are so many of them, I'm just going to earn them in game. But that's my 2 cents.
For the Endeavor, most of those modules, unless they're all the ones that are sub 100.
Yeah, and there's literally one that's $150, right? So, and I think the next cheapest is like 125. So you're talking about 1 or 2 modules for the Endeavor that are...
all the others are like $20, $30. Most of those modules should be earning game.
Yeah.
The only ones that I think will go above that, where they're worth earning, buying rather than earning game just because of the time factor.
Yeah.
Are going to be those sub 100 or the ones that are higher than 100.
Yeah.
Does that mean you can't earn them in game? No, it just means for those people who don't have time to do the grind, it's a convenience. And that's what the store should be, a convenience to people, not I've got this, you can't get it. And that's...
I think we'll see that obviously, hopefully this year, like from the tip of the hat, what we saw coming in that structural salvage patch on the EPTU. So yeah, in summary, they're the ones that you need to look at. Again, the scale of the ship will kind of determine the scale of the components, and you can see where it can go. It's kind of going to stay where it is now, or it could totally multiply. But again, if you're talking about modules from some smaller ship, I don't think you need to worry. I think they're not worth owning still. But again, I'll put this off into the comments. Let's go know your thoughts. It's just something that we wanted to talk about because we're moving up to that. We know, as Algared's kind of said, there's modules coming for this thing. I think we're about to see the test beta about where these to go. And Algared, these weren't exactly cheap. I think they were roughly around $60 for one of the modules for the Retaliator.
I'd have to go back and have a look. I know there was 40 to 50, somewhere around that price. So
again,
they weren't cheap.
So again, I think they're priced a little bit like vehicles, but we won't really know until they land, and then again, after they land, they may go up in price as well. So there's a couple of things there, moving pieces, but we just want to get that conversation started because we think some are going to be worth picking up and others are not. And I kind of want to just put it out there and kind of get the thought process going, so we as a community can work out where they're going to go. So yeah. All right. With that, then, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. And thank you to all those people that went extra mile on Patreon, including there's a new one there today. Waffle joined us. So yeah. Right. With that, then, he's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.